Good evening. Welcome back to Dining 101. I'm your host, Mr. Wolfe. Let's get right into it. This is Webisode 9. I want to thank you for viewing this. I want to thank you if you've watched all 8 episodes up till now. We've been working through the whole dining process. Pretty exciting. Last time we wrapped up, we were just finishing entrees, and now we're going to talk a little bit about cheese course and dessert course tonight. But before that, I want to get back to questions and answers real quick, as we always do at the beginning of the show. And I really appreciate if anybody has questions or comments or concerns to email me or call me or whatever. Let me know what your questions are so I can address those directly. So this week, Alan from Atlanta wants to know, hey, Mr. Wolfe, what happened last week? How come there was no webisode? Well, that's because I was on vacation. So I took a little winter vacation, went up to the snow, Tahoe, did a little skiing, did a little snowmobiling, had a really great time, had some really good food and good wine up there as well. So that's what happened then. Next time I go on vacation, I'll give everybody a little heads up or post something on that. Second question, Christine from South Lake Tahoe had a great question, I thought. She was throwing a nice dinner party at her house, busted out the nice china and everything, had a nice menu together, and she felt a little awkward going around. She had water and wine service going, and when she went to refill water, she said, gosh, is it better to pick the glass up to make it easier and pour the water and put the glass back on the table, or is it better just to leave the glass on the table and pour the water? And I had to tell her, well, honestly, you want to leave the glass on the table and pour your water just like you would pour wine, and just leave it on the table. You don't really want to be fingering people's vessels that they're going to be drinking out of, and there's always that slight chance that you might go to pick up a water glass, and because of the condensation, it might slip out of your hand and crashes. Big bummer there. She was a little worried that her pitcher, nice beautiful glass pitcher, might because of the condensation, leak on the table. And I said, you know what is a great solution to that? You can always take a napkin, wrap it around there, get a nice linen napkin or something, tie it around there, and that'll solve that problem. So just a brief recap, always want to leave the glasses on the table as you go around and pour everybody's water and wine. So other than that, let's get right into this week. Napkin on the lap, first thing we do. We're going to talk about the entrees left the table. And you're telling your stories, you're telling your jokes, and we're having a great time. We've had a glass of wine or two at this point. So again, help us on the table, not a big deal. But at one point, either the busboy or the waiter is probably going to want to come over and crumb the table to really tidy it up for you. And if you're not familiar with these, it's a standard issue table crumber, invented by Ray Machine Company on the East Coast somewhere. You can either get your dining101.net crumber if you like off the website. But when they do come in that, they're really trying to do you a favor and tidy up, get all those breadcrumbs and other loose things off the table. They're going to come through and crumb. Just, you want to come back, assume the position 1, elbows off the table. Just let them go through and do that real quick, and then boom, it's right back to your story or whatever. All right, next after that, the dessert menu is probably going to come in. This is a great opportunity to either go for a cheese course or a dessert course. You could have cheese and then dessert if you like, or you could just have cheese, or you could just have dessert, or you have nothing at all. It's whatever you're in the mood for. Why would you have cheese after dinner? It's more of a European thing, not so much an American thing. Well, there's a couple reasons for it. One is some of these cheeses can be pretty strong. Pungent is a word that comes to mind. And you wouldn't necessarily want to have a strong, pungent cheese, like a blue cheese, before your dinner to annihilate your palate and then not really be able to taste that nice sauteed Dover sole or whatever you're having for your main course. Also, the cheese, because it has a fat content in there, is going to coat your palate a little bit. Of course, we have the wine there to cut through that, but that's also going to diminish your experience on your main course. And then lastly, I'm not exactly sure how it works, but there's some kind of a digestion thing going on where it's better to kind of work through your meal and save the cheese for last, and your body kind of processes all that a little bit better. So 3 great reasons to have cheese after dessert. Also another good reason, let's say you have a little bit of wine left, be it a white wine or a red wine, and you've got much left in your bar or something, have a cheese course, finish up the rest of that wine, and tell the rest of your story. It's a really nice way to kind of spread out your dining experience and have a great time. Maybe have a cheese that you've never tried before, either local, domestic, or imported or something. But a lot of times the chef or your waiter can pick one out for you, or 2 or 3. So that's kind of fun. Speaking of wine, with cheese course, a lot of times people have red wine left from their meal. But I got to tell you, in my personal opinion, nothing complements a cheese course quite like a nice crisp white wine. And do yourself a favor, next time you're at a nice restaurant with a good cheese program, let's say Boulevard in San Francisco, order their Riesling by the glass and try that with a cheese course after lunch or dinner, and you're going to be blown away. It's a real treat. So little Riesling, little cheese, and then you're ready to move on. So let's say cheese has come, cheese is gone, they've crumbed your table, your wine is all gone. Now we're going to get into dessert. They're going to mark you for dessert or get you all prepped, and it's probably going to be a dessert fork and a dessert spoon, and it could probably be just like they set you up for your lunch or your dinner, or it might be kind of over on to the right, give you a little bit more room to work over here, or it might even be up top. And that's kind of, if you were going to put all your silverware on the table to begin with, that's where your dessert fork and spoon are going to be. So when you're eating your lunch or your dinner, try not to mess around with those things too much. And see how it is, the fork on the bottom, spoon on the top, as if you were going to pull them down and they would magically appear where they're supposed to be. So those will be up top like so. And this reminds me real quick, just back up a second to the cheese course, because the marking for that will be a small fork and a knife of some sort. And even though you might want to be tempted to eat the cheese with your fingers, I highly recommend you use the fork and the knife on the cheese, because some of this cheese is pretty darn strong. And if you've ever had époisse, you'll know what I'm talking about. But after you touch that cheese, that smell is on your fingers for like till next Tuesday. So I highly recommend a little fork and knife the cheese. That's in the 4 o'clock position. When you're done, cheese course gets whisked away, and then comes the dessert. So jumping back up, here's your dessert. You've ordered whatever, your fruit thing, or your chocolate thing, or your nut thing. And what better to go with dessert than dessert wine? And when I say dessert wine, this could be a nice white dessert wine, or maybe a port, or a Marsala, or a Madeira, or something along those lines. So here we have a nice little port glass with a nice ruby port, which is nice with a chocolate dessert. And that'll be served like so. So dessert comes in, you can enjoy that, maybe share, try some other people's desserts, enjoy your dessert wine with dessert. If you're one of those people that likes to have coffee with dessert, I mean, normally coffee signifies the end of the meal, so coffee would be after dessert. But some people like to have coffee with dessert, and I can certainly understand that. So coffee will be over here, all beverage service from the right, so that'll come over here on the right. Most people are right-handed, so the handle and the spoon are going to be in that 4 o'clock position. No, they're not going to clear your coffee. That just is where it's supposed to go. And service will happen here. What a lot of people want to do is, if they're served the coffee before dessert, they automatically want to put the coffee cup here, kind of like they did with their bread plate earlier. And I'm not sure why they want to do that, because that's where your dessert goes. So now the guy's coming with dessert, and you're looking at him, and he's looking at you, and we're having kind of a Mexican standoff here. So I would just leave that where it goes, over here on the right. Again, if you have a Jedi waiter and he notices you're left-handed, he very well may serve it over here on the left side, just for the convenience of those left-handed people. That's kind of an advanced maneuver right there, though. So coffee service over here on the right. And, you know, when you order dessert and coffee, you might want to tell your waiter if you prefer your coffee before or with dessert or after dessert, because everybody's a little bit different. Me, I like coffee afterwards, because the acid in that coffee is going to really attack your taste buds, and when you're drinking that hot, burning, acidy coffee, you're not going to be able to taste that nice apple galette or whatever you have in front of you. So that's why I prefer nice dessert wine. At any rate, you've got your coffee, you've got your dessert. I just want to mention one other thing, another jackass move you've got to avoid, and that is sometimes, this is called a teaspoon, and it's served with either your tea or your coffee over here. This is a dessert spoon, which is served with your dessert. And a lot of times people will use their teaspoon for dessert and their dessert spoon for coffee. Again, that'd be a jackass move. So leave that over here, leave that where it goes. Dessert is gone, that gets cleared away. Again, the 4 o'clock position. And you're done with that. Dessert wine is done. Now we're enjoying the rest of our coffee. It's probably okay to move your coffee over here at this point, because no more food is coming in, unless perhaps there's some mignardises. Those will probably be served at the middle of the table, and those are just little sweet goodies that come at the very, very end with your coffee or even with the check. So with that, we've kind of covered cheese and dessert. Next week we'll get more into the whole coffee and coffee service. We'll break down espresso drinks for you. And then after that, a lot of people have been clamoring about how to pay the check and tipping and split checks and all that kind of stuff. So that'll be a little bit more academic that week. So looking forward to coffee next week and paying the bill the week after that. But until then, thanks for joining us here at Dining 101. It is the companion webisode to dining101.net. I'm your host, Mr. Wolfe. Dine well, dine right.